What are autism special interests? Well, in today's video I'm going to be talking about this and how important they actually are for autistic people. So here we go. Well, hello Indie people, how you guys doing? And if you're brand new to my channel, I talk about being autistic, talk about autism generally from my experiences. So if that sounds interesting to you, click the subscribe button and the bell so you get notified every time I upload a new video. And in today's video, I am going to be talking about autism special interests. So what are autism special interests? Well, basically an autism special interest is something or several things. It's not necessarily one thing, I must point that out here, but basically autism special interests are things that autistic people have a high level of passion for. Often these interests that autistic people have often have a deep meaning or some kind of connection to the person, though it's not always clear why an autistic person may have an interest in something. Especially with some of the interests that autistic people have, they may seem as unimportant or not really something to care about. I am going to talk about my own interests just to give you an idea of what an autism special interest may look like in a second, but just to make it clear, there is a difference between a special interest and a hobby. Now, I understand that everyone can have a hobby, you know, whether it's watching TV, going out to socialize, cooking, reading books, all of that sort of thing. But for me, when I'm really emotionally invested in something, you know, and people say, oh, you can give it up at any time, I don't feel like that. Like, special interests in themselves are stability, they are grounding for autistic people, especially for myself, you know. If I'm not doing something around my special interests in my life, I just feel really insecure. I personally feel uneasy about it. But if it's a hobby, it's something that you can just do for a little bit and not feel like you need to continuously do it and it doesn't like consume you. Not in a bad way, but in a way that it becomes obsessive and you just want to know everything about that thing. Like, that's the difference between an autism special interest and a hobby. That's just how I see it. If you think differently or you want to add to the conversation, definitely let us know down below. And actually, what are your interests? Because for me, I've found that some of them can be really lifelong, such as music, for example. Like, I'm a musician and, you know, I love everything to do with music. It is something that I have always loved. It is something that has always interested me. It really has. But I think the main misconception about special interests, and the main thing that I personally see online, is if a person has a special interest, that's the only thing that they're going to be interested in. Autism special interests can become obsessive and just out of nowhere you're instantly kind of hooked on something that you never really gave a second glance to. And for some special interests, I just want to know everything about it. You know, how does it work? And YouTube is a great example of that. I've always wanted to know how the whole concept of YouTube works effectively. Music and YouTube are my main special interests and the things that I dearly love. But that's not to say that I haven't had other interests in my life. You can have fleeting special interests. You know, you can fall in love with something, have a deep connection with something really quickly, and just as easily come out of it, and you know, you obsess over that thing or multiple things, but it's not something that you want to do for the rest of your life or feel you have an interest in for the rest of your life, if that makes sense. So just some examples of fleeting interests from my own perspective. Final Fantasy X. I love Final Fantasy X. I used to play it as a kid. My sister introduced me to it, but I was terrible at Final Fantasy X. I never actually finished it. But the thing that drew me in to Final Fantasy X was the characters, the world of Spira, you know, the whole mythology behind the game. The soundtrack is absolutely just generally amazing. Like, I can't speak highly enough about Final Fantasy X. Even though I don't play games anymore, Final Fantasy X is always going to have a special place in my heart, and I'm always going to look back on it fondly. You know, the times where I was playing on my PS2, I was sat on the floor in my parents' living room, just playing the game for hours, trying to beat Yunaneska and failing miserably because I didn't really care about winning the game. I was just so engrossed in the experience. And that's the thing with special interests. You know, sometimes you can be hooked on something and fall in love hard and fast with one thing and then instantly change to something else. I mean, for example, I used to collect rocks off every single beach that I went to. Even if I went to that beach multiple times, it was a part of my thing. And even pine cones, like, you know, I'll put a picture up there. I was obsessed with collecting those. God only knows why, but I remember one memory actually. I was in Tenerife with my parents. We were coming down the mountain and there was all of these massive pine cones. They were like the size of my fist. And I was like, oh, we need to stop. My parents stopped the car. I ran across the road, picked up the biggest pine cone I could find, and then got back in the car because I was so obsessed with collecting pine cones, and it was something that I really love. And you know, that's the thing with special interests. They can come and go sometimes and be fleeting, like I say. So really, how important are autism special interests to autistic people? I guess very, and I could only speak for myself here. For me, if I didn't have my interests, I don't know where I would be, quite honestly. You know, you may not understand why someone has an interest in something, but I think the main thing to take away from this is, yes, autism special interests can be obsessive. And actually, special interests can really be a gateway for autistic people to interact with others. Take this YouTube thing, for example. You know, I've met a load of great people because of it. I've made so many friends through it who are small creators, autistic creators, you know, people who don't even do YouTube. I've met so many people because of this. And if someone takes a special interest that someone has and really puts their focus into it, it could turn into a great career path for them. And also, special interests just make us feel fulfilled. It's a pleasurable thing to feel, and it just makes us happy, really. So I think special interests can be amazing. They can be obsessive, but I think if they are dealt with in the correct way and handled in the correct way, then they can be an amazing experience, not just for the autistic person, but for others around them. But definitely one of the things that makes me feel happy and fulfilled is making videos. There's a selection for you to click on right now and enjoy. But if you enjoyed this video though, make sure you leave a like for me down below, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this. But for now, stay you, stay indie, have a great day, and I hope to see you next time.